Hello, thank you so much for being here at Soulprint. My name is Cindy. So, I'm going to do a channel message today because the DNC is over. Um, Democrats have their official, uh, you know, people running, right, with the Harris Walls campaign. And there was an incredible amount of excitement built up over the days. And I think it's just time to maybe take a look and see how sort of the country, the people are doing, how everybody's coping. Because it's too easy when everything is up and happy and bubbly to kind of lose sight a little bit of the actual trauma that people were experiencing over the last 9 years. And the last 4 years under Biden, in many, many ways, there was a lot of things that he was able to heal: the economy, the unemployment, COVID. He was able to turn things around and get them moving in the right direction. However, um, the emotional healing, I think, still needs to be done, and in some ways still needs to be acknowledged. So, as I said, when things are really good, it's easy to forget. Um, but if you don't address it, it can kind of still come back and haunt you a little bit. So that's what I thought I would take a look at today, because I think that um, that trauma is real, and that trauma is part of what is creating, um, or continues to create, kind of that feeling of waiting for the shoe to drop, or don't get too excited because it can be taken away from us. Um, you know, I know I should feel better than this, but I'm still really anxious and I'm still really worried. That kind of energy. Now, listen, you don't put on a party hat and ignore everything. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I am suggesting is that sometimes when, um, when things get better, it's hard to let go, frankly, of that trauma that we have been experiencing for 9 years, ever since that buffoon came down that bloody gold escalator. Who the hell needs a gold escalator, anyways? I mean, come on. Just voicing an opinion. So I want to take a look and see what spirit can tell us in terms of our healing and how we go forward. Because, and I'm sure they're going to, repeat this many times, we are all now aware of the power of our thoughts. And we're aware of the fact that fear based thought, anger based thoughts can be incredibly, incredibly powerful. And where you focus is what you manifest. So, spirit, what would you like to tell not only the American people, but people around the world who have been traumatized, who have been filled with anxiety and stress and worry for 9 years? As I said, Biden was able to heal a lot of really tangible things, but I think the emotional healing, recovering from that emotional trauma, I think that that's still something that needs to be addressed. So, what can you tell us? We are always grateful for an opportunity to share our collective thoughts with you. The, the period of time you are in some ways, it happened so quickly. The turning of the energy was so fast. Those who are referring to it as a jump in time are not wrong, because The energy now was sort of anticipated for sometimes in to 2026, but you've jumped. And so now here you are. And by the response, it's clear to see that many, many people were really ready to just let go of the negativity and you know, the anger and everybody being mean and critical and hostile to everybody else. People are tired of it. You're exhausted. You're just exhausted. And so time moves forward at a slightly accelerated rate. It's very hard to heal that which you fail to acknowledge. And so we're very pleased, we're delighted to have this opportunity to talk to you about releasing trauma and ensuring that those trauma responses are not controlling your current responses, that they're not being triggered. There's been a lot of talk about how the soul trump. This was part of what he came here to do. It was part of his soul print, if you will. But like every other soul that comes in with a soul print, with an agenda, with accomplishments that they wish to achieve, it does not mean that however they behave throughout the course can neatly fall under the category of, well, that's just part of, what they're here to teach us or what we're here to learn. You have within Earth history a long line of souls that came to the Earth with an intention or an intention that evolved over the course of their lifetime. But once they have gotten their hands on power, once the greed has started to sort of permeate their thoughts and their actions, what you have is a soul that lost their way, that lost the path. So the first thing it's important for you to remember is you need to keep in perspective what the lesson was versus the trauma that has been caused. Because if the intention was simply to point out to the American people, to the democracies, that there were fault lines, that there were weaknesses that needed to be addressed in order to strengthen your experiment, that is a very different thing than going above and beyond and out of your way to cause harm, anger, rage, war. To take someone's thought processes and make them so enraged that they will behave in ways that are outrageous, behave in ways that were triggered within their attitude or an energy was triggered within them not because it was mentioned once or twice, but because it was repeated over and over and over and over again until that human brain became so saturated with that message that there was no room for any objective reality. There was no room for any other ideas or thoughts or suggestions. It is not anybody's job to make judgments on someone else's life's journey. But that doesn't mean that you just simply write off the behaviors under the guise of, well, that's what they were supposed to do, or that's the lesson they came here to teach, or this is what they came here to learn. Because as you found out, even though by and large the energy of your planet is sort of not balanced, but it fluctuates within a certain range, what you've discovered is that that pendulum can swing really high and really hard. And when it hits that extreme, left or right, what you have is a system basically run amok. So now that we're clear on that, let's think about how we recover from that. There's a very big difference between pointing out a weakness versus setting fire to it, to creating a situation where things spiral out of control. So let's take a look at what these past years, how they have impacted people. There's a higher state of anxiety and worry. There's a higher state of depression and anxiety. There is a higher state of distrust when it comes to, never mind our neighbors, but often between family and friends. It is time now for that healing process to get underway and complete itself. One of the most powerful emotions that you can draw to yourself when you're wanting to create a healing is hope, joy, belief that things not can get better, but are getting better. A belief that there is no hill that cannot be climbed. That is what is going on in your politics in the United States. You now have these two very different ideas, these philosophies, and they don't come together anywhere. They are just one or the other. So you're going to take the joy and the hope and the happiness, and you're going to draw that to you, and you're going to bring comfort from it. And when you have these worries or anxieties, what you're going to do is pivot, turn your attention, turn your thoughts to that which is uplifting, that which will cancel the lower vibrational energy that you are experiencing. And listen, this does not heal overnight. It didn't happen overnight. It happened over a long process of time. Thank goodness, generally speaking, the healing usually takes much less time than creating the problem in the first place. So you were you were looking for the best possible result. Very often, when people are trying to be sort of like neutral, what they will say is, I'm looking, for the most benign result. Well, that's really what you're looking for. What you're looking for is the result that is in the highest and best interest of those impacted. The highest and best interest. And you have to understand that sometimes the highest and best interest is amazing. And sometimes what is in the highest and best interest to somebody is when somebody is so set on not only destroying everything around them, but themselves, that is where you will see the highest interest, the highest good, ends up being achieved, not because that experience goes forward and wisdoms are gained, but because the experience comes to an end before more damage can become. We are not suggesting this or that. We are not prophesizing. We are simply asking you to broaden, expand your definitions so that just because something is in the highest and best interest of someone, that does not necessarily mean amazing, wonderful results happen. Sometimes the highest and best interest of someone is that they leave, they surrender their physical being. Sometimes what is in the highest and best interest of someone is that they get denied something they really want because there's something else coming. We have said before, and we will continue to say, that when you pray, when you send out thoughts for someone or something, you're always asking that that which is in the highest benefit for them be achieved, be made manifest. So you apply that same knowing, that same wisdom, you apply it internally. And when you are struggling, ask that that which is in your highest and best interest be delivered to you, that you receive it. And sometimes it may be that you need to re-experience a trauma, go through the emotions of it again so you can release it and let it go, and it detaches. It doesn't have the hold on you. It detaches from you and it's able to float away. And sometimes it is almost a spontaneous and miraculous healing. But both achieve that which is in the highest interest. Just because something is in the highest interest does not mean that it's going to turn out to be what our perception or your perception of the highest good and interest is. It is about what is best for the soul and that soul's path. As the United States election progresses through these next 70 whatever days, you will have periods of highs and you will have periods of worry and anxiety. What we are asking you to consider is finding the most effective and efficient way for each one of you individually to ask for that which is in the highest interest be done. So that the healing that you need individually and the healing ultimately that surrounds the entire collective is clear, is powerful, and is effective. For some of you, it may simply be telling yourself to stop the thought, it's not productive and it's not helping, and to refocus your attention to something that is positive, that you want to embrace. For some, it might be replaying a message, perhaps a speech, perhaps a teaching that reinforces your ability, your innate ability to self-heal. And it can be anything within that broad range and spectrum. Be still and think about that which you wish to achieve. Create a picture in your mind, a snapshot that you can draw forward when you need it. Create a phrase or a statement or a mantra. Carry a talisman that you can touch and draw strength from on the one hand and release anxiety with the other. Find what works for you. Be kind to yourself and be very kind to those around you, because it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum anyone is. Everybody should have the opportunity to partake in the collective healing of your country and by extension, the world. The awareness of the power and the force of energy is in many ways still in its infancy of understanding on your earth plane. You see it in sort of very basic, in a very sort of basic way or philosophy. It is far more powerful. It is far more brilliant, powerful, effective than you can know. Because some of that knowledge is not meant for simply the planet you are on or the dimension you are in. But what you do have to work with and what you do know about energy is enough for where you are and what you're experiencing to bring forward the energy to make manifest a healing for self and others. So as we say our goodbye and our gratitude for you allowing us to share with you some of our thoughts from a higher consciousness, we will leave you with this simple thought. May that which is in your highest interest be done. Thank you for your time. All right, well, already, typically after these things, I got nothing to add. I really don't. I hope this message was well received. I hope it helps you, maybe, gives you some clarity somewhere along the way. Please do not forget to put any questions you have for Pendulum Friday in the comment section below. And of course, all the other comments are lovely, and I so enjoy reading them, and watching some of the interactions that go on. Um, so thank you. Take good care of yourself. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.